You said, there always has to be a crisis, some terrible reason why their superior wisdom and virtue must be imposed on the unthinking masses.
Yes. You can go back over the last 100 years. You can go back to eugenics in the early part of the 20th century. You can go back to Keynesian economics. You can come forward to the environmental movement. There always is something which requires them to substitute their wisdom and virtue for our lack of understanding.
Aren't you an intellectual?
Oh, I suppose I've been accused of so many things. There's no. I don't say all intellectuals.
What is an intellectual?
I guess the best definition I've heard is from Hayek. He says it's a second-hand dealer in ideas. That the vast majority of intellectuals don't really originate any ideas, but they peddle ideas that other people have originated. And that gives them a great deal of freedom because ideas are so malleable, words are so malleable. Reality is not malleable. And so they can believe in all sorts of things which have no realistic possibility and which have failed time and again in history. But because they know how to rephrase it and repackage it, they can just keep right on going.
If I read correctly, you're going to be 75 this year.
Yes.
How many years have you been thinking and writing?
Oh, gosh. I've been published since 1960.
Has it changed at all, the way you learn?
Gosh, not really. I mean, I learned both from reading and from experience. And, of course, what I believe has changed radically since I was a Marxist in my 20s. I'm surprised, though, when I go back, because I keep old letters and things, I'm surprised how many of the values I had are still the same values. It's just that now I see that they have to be reached by an entirely different method.
What method?
Well, at one time, for example, I thought that if the government took control of various things, they could do a lot, particularly for people who are poor, less fortunate in one way or another. Over time, I've learned that that really does not work. I mean, it sounds better, it doesn't work. Just recently, I came across one number which should have destroyed the whole notion of central planning, and it was that there were 24 million prices in the Soviet Union. Now, there's no human being capable of setting 24 million prices properly, especially when you realize that each price has to be set properly in relation to the other 24 million prices. So you can't even break it down and have, say, 24,000 people, each one with 1,000 prices, because the point is they all have to mesh relative to one another. But if you have a country of a couple of 100 million people, and each person keeps track of only a relatively few prices that affect that person, then it can work.
We're at the Hoover Institution. What is it?
Hoover Institution is a think tank. Established originally just as an archive for all the tons of material that Herbert Hoover collected when he was traveling around Europe after the First World War, during a time of starvation, where he set up this program to feed millions of people across Europe. And when he came back, he dumped all this stuff here at Stanford and set up this archive. And then at some point, Glenn Campbell, one of the directors, decided to turn it into a think tank, and he put it on the map as that.
How long have you been here?
It'll be 25 years in September.
What's life like here for you?
In a sense, I shouldn't even be answering that because I am here so seldom. I work at home miles away, but that's part of the great part of the freedom of the place. I mean, right now, if you ask the director of the Hoover Institution, what is Tom Sowell working on? He'd say, darned if I know. You know, from time to time, they find out what I'm working on, and if they like it, I continue to stay on. I suppose if they went a couple of years and I did nothing, they'd say, why is he here? But it's really a wonderful place, and I've had the most productive years of my life here.
Has your relationship with your readers changed much?
Not that I can think of. Most of the stuff I get from readers is really very positive, very reinforcing. Some of it's very touching. Occasionally you'll get a barrage of criticism on something. I had one recently where there's some internet website that is sicking them on me because I said there's no such thing as a trickle-down theory. Nobody has ever advocated it. And there were all storms of email came in, not one of which contained one quote from one person who had actually advocated it. It's one of those things that someone says that he objects to in someone else, but we can never find the someone else who's supposed to have said it.